Three, two, and one. Welcome, everyone, back to session three today of Releaders Reunite 2026. I am the host and MC of this conversation. My name is Kevin Edwards. I am the president here at Releaders, and we're calling it Reunite because we are returning back virtually this year. We're redefining what it means to be live with the Releaders audience, the Releaders community. So if you're coming in from our emails right now, welcome. Thanks for being here. If you're coming in and streaming live on LinkedIn, you are not going to want to click a back button or go anywhere else, folks, because today we have an incredible speaker who has earned her spot on stage as a top 50 keynote speaker. I've known Miren Oca for, I don't know, Miren, 3-4 years now. She's been a great member. We're in the same forum together. So I, of course, removed myself from the judging and evaluation process to make sure there was no bias. But last year, Miren, and my experience with her over the past 4 years had been, wow, this is a true, real leader. This is someone who gets it. This is someone who is always positive, and every time you leave the conversation with her, she leaves you better than when she found you. And so in today's conversation, after watching her audition tape, I was left inspired with this new thinking and thought leadership that she's developing that is all about ROI. ROI, what does that mean? For everyone here, you think of return on investment. In the impact community, it means ripple of impact now. What are the intangibles? How can we focus and measure on our impact? What are the things that builds good culture? And in that last conversation, and maybe Miren will talk about this in terms of how she went about an exit. In the last conversation, we were with an individual who focuses on exits. And the number one factor they look at is culture. Will the business exist without you? So whether you think private equity is bad or maybe you want to keep the business, human capital is the number one thing that creates business success, determines business success, that is. So on today's conversation, we've got she says it's going to be about a 22-minute talk, short and sweet, so we'll get right to the point there. And I just really hope that you all can take notes, ask your questions. And if you ask your questions, if you're on YouTube or on LinkedIn, it'll actually pull on through to us so we can see those. So we'll have a little bit of Q&A right after this session as well. Okay, well, with that being said, I'll stop talking and we'll bring on the real leader of today's conversation. It's with my distinct pleasure and honor to welcome a member of ours, a friend, and a top 50 keynote speaker, Mrs. Miren, they call her, Mrs. Miren Oca. Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. That was a really great intro. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much, and thank you for those kind words. So, like Kevin said, today we're going to be talking about ROI, and we all know what it means, return on investment. And we know that business owners and leaders or professionals are taught to chase it, to measure it, to maximize it. And it's always been the gold standard of business success. But as impact leaders, we've learned that a focus on traditional ROI is too narrow. And some of the most important returns, they aren't measured on a spreadsheet. So today I want to offer you a different ROI, a different framework of measuring what truly counts. And we're not just measuring in profits, but in presence. And not just in earnings, but in impact. Because after more than 30 years in business, I've learned something. Building a business is never easy. But when we make impact-driven choices, the challenges feel lighter and we build this resilience to keep moving forward. So in the past, we have always measured what we've made, and now we've got this new framework to measure what really matters, and I want to share that today. So imagine if ROI in business didn't just mean return on investment, but in addition, it meant ripples of impact. And the real legacy of our work isn't just what we extract from a business, but all that we contribute by the choices that we make along the way. I call these pebbles, and I've got a pebble right here on my desk. And you see, small values-driven decisions in business, these are the pebbles that create ripples of meaningful and measurable impact. And the stories that ripple out from each of our decisions may be the truest returns of all. And ripples of impact can be just as powerful as return on investment, and in most cases, the two are deeply connected. So, under the traditional model of ROI, we've become addicted to growth, performance, and measuring everything in numbers, metrics, and KPIs, or key performance indicators. We track revenue, churn, profit margin, retention rates. And yes, they matter, but they only show us part of the picture. Retention stats tell us how many people stayed, but not why. Profit tells us what we earned, but not what we gave. KPIs show performance, but they rarely show purpose. And most of all, none of these numbers tell us the impact of our presence in the world. And they don't tell us how our culture shaped someone's life, or who found confidence because we believed in them, or who still carries our values years after they've moved on. Those are the stories and the signals that don't fit neatly on a spreadsheet. And that's why, in addition to KPIs, I think we need to start measuring impact indicators. And impact indicators are the signals that show that we're building our legacy, not just the business. And they show that we're serving people beyond just a transaction. And here's the truth. These signals, they're also really good for business. A team member who grows with us, they stay longer, they serve better, and they become our ambassador for life. A community that feels connected to our work, they keep showing up, they keep buying, and they keep believing in us. The strongest businesses are built on trust and loyalty and resilience, none of which show up in KPIs, but all of which determine whether we thrive in the long run. At Ocaquatics, our KPIs are really strong. We've taught more than 3.2 million swimming lessons. We have 5 purpose-built indoor warm water pools, and we teach about 6,500 swimming lessons per week. We have about 165 team members, and 57 of which are co-owners. And since 1994, no one has taught more children to swim in Miami-Dade County than Ocaquatics Swim School. And all of those numbers are super useful, but they're not the whole picture. What I am most proud of are the stories behind the statistics. And every one of those stories began with a pebble, one intentional choice to act in line with our values, to lead with service and to build with care and to put people at the center. And those stories, they're signals of our impact indicators, and they are ripples that started with a pebble. So in our experience, we found that there are 3 powerful categories of impact indicators, but I think they apply to every industry. And I call them the 3 S's. We have stewardship, social impact, and sustainability. The first impact indicator starts with our team, and that's stewardship. And stewardship means recognizing that we have been entrusted with something important, not just a business, but people's livelihoods and their growth and their futures. And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I never set out to be a business owner. At 19, I was a biochemistry scholarship student and I was dreaming of medical school. And then I found out I was pregnant. And overnight, my dream disappeared. And I moved to Miami to be near my family, and I started teaching swimming lessons. And I had to do this out of necessity to feed my son and myself. This was not a long-term plan. I was in survival mode. And like most new beginnings, it wasn't smooth. Those early years were heavy and they were exhausting. And I was young and I was scared, and I was now having to say no to opportunities that I had worked so hard for. And many nights I wondered if I had permanently closed the door on the future that I thought I was building. And I questioned my judgment and I questioned my worth. But I had a child and I had to take action and I had to keep moving forward. So I opened my business and I taught myself as I went. I sat in bookstores and libraries with my son, and I learned as much as I could about how to run a company. And I made plenty of mistakes, and I took so many wrong turns, especially in the early days of hiring and leading and sometimes letting people go. That part was so hard, and I was not very good at it. But I stayed committed to my learning. And over time, those early struggles, they became my greatest teacher. And being stretched beyond what I thought I could handle really forced me to rely on people. And it taught me to listen more closely, and it taught me how to grow as a leader. And without realizing it, I that became the foundation for everything that I would later build. And now, what I didn't realize at that time, but now I know, is that I was stepping into my purpose. That difficult season helped me to discover something that I hadn't expected. I truly loved working with people, and not just the young swimmers that we were teaching to float for the first time, but the team members who were learning to lead and to grow and to believe in themselves. And over time, Ocaquatics became this place where leadership development was just as important as swimming instruction. Young people stepped into their first management roles, and team members from 17 different countries found a place to learn and grow. And together, we were literally saving lives through the water safety education that we provide every single day. And I came to realize that my job wasn't just to build this company, it was to be a good steward. It was to take care of the people who were taking care of the business. And that began with choices or pebbles that I could drop every single day. So one of the most powerful pebbles was offering personal financial literacy education to our team members. And at our swim school, financial literacy, it didn't just improve our culture, it built confidence. It taught people how to understand their paychecks. It taught them how to pay off debt, and it showed them how to save for the future. It broke cycles that had held people back for years, and it gave them skills that they were going to use for the rest of their lives. And here's the business impact. When team members felt supported, they stayed longer. They brought their best energy, and they became ambassadors who attracted others just like them to our business. So this stewardship indicator built loyalty, it reduced turnover, and it created a culture people wanted to be a part of, making it just as good for the business as it was for the people who were in it. And if we want a business that lasts, we need to build people who last. Like Miguel. So Miguel joined us about 18 years ago, and I still remember his job interview where he struggled to answer my questions in English. But he had a spark, and I really needed people for my growing business, so I hired him. And he started off as a pool cleaner, and step by step he became certified as a lifeguard, and then as a swimming teacher. And then he went through our English classes, and he became a supervisor, and then he joined our manager and training program, and eventually he was promoted to assistant manager and then general manager. And eventually he became the operations manager of Ocaquatics Swim School. And while he was growing professionally, he was also growing personally. He took advantage of the financial literacy education opportunity that we had, and he began unwinding years of financial debt. And he worked so hard, and he continued saving, and in time he was able to save enough for a down payment for a home. But he didn't stop there. He kept saving with discipline, and he was able to invest in 2 rental properties. And now, years later, he and his partner have semi-retired and moved to Spain. But today, Miguel still works with us. He leads the department remotely, and he's not just an employee, he's a ripple. This young man who once struggled to answer interview questions is now living the life that he chose. He's financially free, and he's mentoring others. And he's taken the learnings that he received, and now he's creating his own ripples with his family and his community and with the people that he still works with. You see, stewardship is about how we care for what's been entrusted to us. And that care, it doesn't just stop at the walls of our business. When we lead with stewardship, those ripples naturally reach out to the lives of the people that we serve, and eventually into the communities that they touch. And that is where our next impact indicator begins. Social impact. So social impact is about belonging. It's that invisible thread that ties our business to the community around it. And at Ocaquatics, investing in our community has mattered as much as teaching swimming lessons. And that's why we sponsor swimming lessons and scholarships in underserved areas. We volunteer in local schools to teach water safety. We partner with nonprofits who make a tremendous impact in our area. Because for us, impact is bigger than just what happens inside of our pools. And we found that when we're consistently there for our community, they are there for us. And in the early years, That support helped us to survive. And later, it helped us grow through the challenges. And today, it allows us to amplify our impact far beyond what we ever could have done alone. One moment that revealed the power of this was our 31-year anniversary celebration last year. We planned an event, some snacks and games for the kids. Our wonderful nonprofit partners came out to share activities for our families, and we expected a few hundred people to stop by. But by the end of the afternoon, over 1,000 people had shown up during our 3-hour party, including the local media. And all those people didn't come out because of fancy invitations or lots of advertising. They came because they felt connected. And over the years, we've been dropping pebbles. We've been walking families to their cars with umbrellas in the rain, or we've been showing up for local nonprofits. We've been giving scholarships to kids who needed them. And those choices built trust and loyalty and belonging. And that day, the ripples came back to us. Families showed up because we had always shown up for them. And even former team members came out to support us. And they didn't come for the party. They came because they saw Ocaquatics as part of their story and themselves as part of ours. That is the power of social impact. It's what happens when the pebbles that we've dropped, those acts of care and service and connection, they ripple back to us in no ways that KPIs can measure. And social impact turns our community into a partner in our success. And that became the heartbeat of our brand all these years. So all of this is really great to help us create belonging right now. But if we want those ripples to keep moving long after we've dropped them, we have to think bigger. And we have to build something that lives on. And that's where our third impact indicator comes in. Sustainability. So for me, sustainability isn't just about being green or keeping the doors open year after year. It's about building something that can thrive, a business, a culture, a mission, without me at the center. And at Ocaquatics, I realized that the best way to build a sustainable business was to build sustainable people. If our team members grew strong and confident and capable, they wouldn't just take care of the business when I was there. They would carry it forward when I was not. And that's why we invested in financial literacy that I told you about earlier. And then we progressed to practicing open book management. And we didn't just share our numbers with our team. We taught them how to understand them. And because they developed these skills, they could read financial statements and they could spot opportunities and they could make decisions like owners. And over time, something remarkable happened. They stopped waiting for me to have all the answers and they started bringing solutions. And they began thinking with the long-term view in mind. And over time, we built this really amazing culture of ownership. And eventually, the most sustainable path forward, it wasn't just having people act like owners, it was to actually make them owners. So in 2024, after 30 years in business, I made the decision not to sell to private equity. And instead, I sold 100% of my company to my employees through an employee ownership trust. And that moment was the ultimate ripple for me, because now our mission doesn't depend on me alone. It belongs to the very people who help build the business, those who live the mission every single day, and those who are going to carry it forward for decades to come. Now, in our case, the most sustainable path forward was transitioning to employee ownership. But a business doesn't have to take that step to build sustainability into their business. Even if you don't have a plan right now to sell to your employees, teaching your team to think like owners and giving them the tools to make smart decisions and building systems that outlast any one person will make your business stronger and more resilient and better prepared for the future. Sustainability means that the good we do outlives us. And it means that our ripples keep moving forward by the system and by the culture that we've built. And when we build in this way, we're not just creating sustainability, we're creating resilience in our people, in our organizations, and in our legacy. So when we focus on the 3 impact indicators, stewardship, social impact, and sustainability, we're not just running a business, we're building a resilient company. And resilience is built through those daily choices, those pebbles. When we choose to mentor and develop someone, that is stewardship. That's a pebble. When we choose to serve our community and create belonging, that's social impact. That's a pebble. And when we choose to build systems and people strong enough to carry our mission forward, that is sustainability, and that's a pebble. Our choices, our culture, our leadership, we're dropping pebbles every single day into the water. And those ripples, they're going to outlast profit margins and KPIs in the long run. I never started my business with this master plan for impact. I started out just trying to survive. And over time, I learned something important. Businesses that only measure what's easy to count, they often miss what truly counts. Yes, measuring KPIs can build businesses, but pebbles and ripples of impact are what build legacies. In both my Real Leaders Forum and in other impact groups alike, it's really clear that legacy matters deeply to us, and I'm sure it matters to everyone on this call. And we know that it's not just something that we leave behind. It's something that we live every single day through the choices that we make. Every decision as to how you lead, how you listen, how you show up, those are pebbles. And so we all know that what we measure gets managed and gets multiplied. So here's what I'd like you to do when you get back to work. I'd like you to add one new metric to your dashboard, not a KPI, but an impact indicator. I'd like you to track something that reflects your purpose, not your profit. And so here are some of the examples that I'm hearing from other audiences, like when we go through this material. And when we're talking about stewardship impact indicator, we know that that shows how well you're growing people and leaders. So some examples you might track are internal promotion rates or your leadership bench strength. You know, how many people are ready to take on their new role or the next role in your organization? And maybe you see that by participation in learning and development programs. And if we look at social impact indicators, those show how your business is showing up in the lives of others. So examples you might track there, the percentage of business that you get that come from referrals. Or what about the number of active community partnerships you have, or the work that you do with nonprofits? Or what about some customer trust signals, like testimonials? That's a really great one to measure. Sustainability impact indicators, we know that shows whether your business can thrive beyond you. So as an owner or a leader in an organization, what are some examples that you could track? Maybe the owner level or the leader level decisions that are made by your team. Or maybe it's cross-training coverage across critical roles. Or maybe it's increasing the number of days that your business could operate if a key leader needed to step away. Or maybe your impact indicator isn't even a number at all. Maybe it's a story of impact, a moment that someone has told you when your business changed their life, or it improved their confidence, or it changed their future. Those are my favorite. I love collecting those. And if you can capture them, talk about these in your meetings. Celebrate them just like you would celebrate hitting a sales goal. These will turn your intention into impact. And that is your real ROI. That is your legacy. Your decisions are pebbles. What ripples of impact will you create? And for those of you who are ready to take this to the next step and you'd like some additional support on your journey, feel free to email me at hello@mirenoca.com, and I'll send you an impact indicator builder that I've put together. And it's a super simple tool just to help you think through some questions and help you turn what matters most into something that you can notice and track and act on. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Miren, well done. Thanks for holding it down for everyone today. Inspiring keynote. You know, just like the first question that popped in my mind, Miren, was like, when did you have this idea of it's not all about the Benjamins? It's about the story. It's about the impact. This is the secret sauce in my organization. When was that?
You know, it's really funny. I think not early days. I mean, the early days, it was about survival. It really was about, I had to earn a living for my son and myself. But I think that as I began developing people and working with team members, I really could see that this was more than just measuring what we were bringing in. And it's the stories of impact are what really started to convince me that this is about something more. So I would say it was about 10 years in. I really enjoyed reading Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness, about culture. And that really helped me understand that we needed to really build our culture and have something very intentional around it. And we started building a culture about service and team and relationships. And that was the first kind of rendition of our culture. And eventually, we grew that culture to be a culture of ownership. And we call it our own it culture, our own it mindset also. And we've read Carrie's books as well, and we've had her speak to our team, and it's been pretty amazing to see them act like owners before they were actually owners, and now they are owners. So it's been pretty amazing.
I love that. And I just out of curiosity, when you're kind of traveling around the country, or I think you've been even around the world and provide some of these keynotes and done some workshops and whatnot, what are you finding are the typical problems or roadblocks from, I guess, what are the things that are kind of getting in the way of business owners and their companies taking action on measuring impact indicators?
I think it is not knowing what to measure. It's how to figure it out. And I think if we can think about what's important, like maybe it's who has grown because of our business. If we can identify one idea, then we can say, okay, if this really matters, how do we track it? And how do we know if it's improving? And what kind of decisions can we make that could influence how people are growing? And then how could we track that? Those are the steps we kind of go through. But it's just identifying what might be something really meaningful for them. And for everyone, it's very personal. It might be around the founder's purpose and what they feel is important. And we do life-saving work. We teach swimming lessons. We make families safer around the water. So we think that the work we do is really important and purposeful, but also that the team members that we work with and helping them grow and develop and become the better citizens of the world, that's really important to us. So that's how we identify that indicator. How can we measure that? And then we look for ways to measure that. And so right now at our meetings, we're doing stories of impact, and we are collecting stories. We have a tool that we use in-house, and we collect those stories, we categorize them, and we have an impact story of the week that we share with the team. And last week I did our impact story in a meeting, and we had people in tears. It was just tremendous. It gave me chills. So
It's inspiring to hear and very consistent with a few of the other messages we've learned from today, such as Mark was talking about, there's a piece of wire there in manufacturing. We go over to the individual and say, you know that's going to be on the Mars rover? Do you understand that that's going to be in a NASA vehicle? So these stories leading to productivity in the organization do have a major and significant impact. Miren, just one more time, if you could maybe share with the audience here today more about the Impact Indicators Framework, where they can find that and get in touch with you.
sure, absolutely. So anyone's welcome to reach out to me. It's hello@mirenoca.com, and I'll send you that information on the impact indicator builder. And really, this is something we've just been playing with in-house. We've been putting this together. We've been teaching our team about it. We're measuring some metrics around it, but we're also capturing those stories. But I think I have some prompts and some questions to help you think through the three different impact indicator categories: stewardship, social impact, and sustainability. And I'm sure we could actually come up with more. But those three, there are several prompts that you can think through and then see how to track those and how to measure them. So what gets measured gets multiplied. That's what we're going for.
Love that. And Miren, one last time,
Yes.
CEOs that are watching this, whether it's now, later, in the future, who needs this? Who needs this, and who do you want to go talk to?
I think everyone, we're speaking to an impact audience now, but I think that when we really talk to other business owners outside the impact space, they realize that doing good is good for business, right? And when we treat our team members well, and when we're capturing all these things, we start multiplying that work. And that makes our team members happy, so they stay longer. That makes our customers happy, so they stay longer, and that helps our bottom line be happier and healthier. So I think that once we really start looking at all of the impact we're making with our organization, and we start putting that in place and we start multiplying that, it makes you a better company. So I think everybody has an interest in this.
Inspiring. Miren Oca, everybody, thank you so much for coming on to Really Is Reunite 2026. We'll see you next year, Miren. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Amazing. Amazing. Here it is again, folks. Leadership. Leadership. What is it? How can you use it? How can you get better at it? How can you elevate? That's what Reunite is all about. It often gets conflated with impact, right? High impact leadership. What does that mean? And I think, the speakers today on day 2 brought it from all different angles, right? It's kind of like there's fog on your window shield, and your window shield's going back and forth, and then you kind of got to go on the outside and get off the other ends. Then finally, you've got this clear picture of what leadership is. And one of the things, just as Miren was talking, is she didn't start out to be this high impact culture. She was just trying to make some money, right? She had a kid on the way, and that's how most entrepreneurs start. And so I really hope this connects with that entrepreneur who's trying to make money, but now trying to get into that place of being a better leader. And even if you're scrapping right now, and it's all about the numbers, it costs nothing. It costs nothing to give someone recognition, right? It costs nothing to ask somebody, what impact did our product make? Or ask a customer, how is this helping you? Right? The story she shared about Miguel, right? The story she shared of, we focused on one story a week, and it brought people to tears. If you're actually a lean entrepreneur and you're trying to maximize revenue and returns, get creative, be a better leader. You'll see it hit the bottom line. Retention, right? Trust, conviction. Think about your sales reps selling the products. They need to know and trust the product and service is transforming lives. And that's how we define impact here at Real Leaders. Thank you all so much for being here today on day 2 of Real Leaders Reunite. A little bit different this year. We're going virtual. We're seeing how the virtual realm does. So far, so good. We hope it's been an easy process for you. We're working on it. We're refining it, just like anyone else would. If you have any questions, any feedback, any reviews, go ahead and put them to the comments, chat, comment online. Make sure to follow Real Leaders. And on tomorrow's session, it's the last day. Day 3 of Real Leaders Reunite for Impact Award-winning CEOs. You are invited to an invite-only session with some CEOs tomorrow that starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time, goes from 9 to 10:30. If you're not invited, let us know. And then following that, we have 2 incredible speakers who also reached the top 50 keynote speaker caliber, such as Miren did today. The first one will be starting with Don Yeager. Don Yeager is going to be talking about how to build high-performing teams. That starts at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and we'll go for about an hour until 2 p.m. Don is a 13-time New York Times Best Times seller. How many times did I say time there? 13-time New York Times best-selling author. And he's going to be distilling all the best principles that he's learned from the greatest coaches, players, in the entire world, and companies, CEOs like the CEO of Pepsi, Delta Airlines, distilling all of the best insights into one clear message that you can walk away with to, again, make an impact for 2026. That's why we have this event at the beginning of the year. That's going to go from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific time, so 4 to 5 p.m. on the East Coast. Hopefully you can join us. Hopefully you're not a happy hour then. And then we have another keynote that comes in just later after that. That's at 3 p.m. with Simon Mainwaring. Simon Maywaring, again on the theme of impact. We'll be talking about leading with impact, but also in turbulent times. This is going to be a keynote specifically for impact leaders who have been very bullish on climate, on social impact, on being a good steward, as Maren pointed out today, but are fighting some headwaters, right? Some resistance right now. How can you show up in a turbulent time? Again, that is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 3 to 4 p.m. And that will conclude our Leaders Reunite of 2026. So if you enjoyed this session, go online, share it. Make sure you follow Miren Oca on all the socials, Ocaquatics Swim School on Instagram as well. That concludes our day 2. Thanks to all the speakers that are out there. Also want to give a shout out to all of the sponsors who made this event possible, made this event free for you all to watch. We'll be sending up a follow-up email to all email subscribers just after this. Always looking for feedback as we go live stream this year. And looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific for Don Yeager. That's it for me. Thanks for tuning in.